I'm Sophie,
I'm Cass.
and this is
Podcast
with Sophie.
and Cass.
New series, Tomando y
Hablando.
ya tú sabes. With getting in relationships like back to back comes the not giving yourself time to heal, right? So for example, like I said, I've been single for 2 years, but some stuff, happens even when you're single. And lately I've been like, I thought like, oh, I've healed. Like I am just not ready for a relationship, but I'm healed. And I was having a conversation with my mom the other day that made me realize like I have not healed because I used to be the kind of person, I was a hopeless romantic. I really did think that like, people fall in love and you love people for who they are with no other kind of intentions, and they love you for and now the way that I perceive relationships is like I'm very rational about it. Like I'll meet a guy and I'm like, yeah, I'm attracted to you, but I don't give a fuck. Like, and what can you offer me? Because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure you're gonna fucking lie to me like everyone else does, you know what I mean? Or you're gonna fucking do some stupid shit like everyone else does. So it's just, and it's like, if I think like that, I clearly haven't healed because I'm not like in the core of what I used to be. I'm still resentful in a way of because of the things that have happened. And it sucks. It sucks because I don't know if everyone's like this, but me, I'm the kind of person that like when I love someone, like I blindly love. Like I don't have eyes for anyone. Like I will do anything to make this work. And when you find yourself in a situation where it's not reciprocated, and you forgive and you try and you try, and at the same time you kind of even lose sight of why you even love the person, because it's like you're treating me like shit, like why the fuck am I even trying anymore? But I always felt like if I gave up on him, it was like a failure almost, like because he made me feel that way. So now I'm at a point where it's like, first of all, it wasn't a failure. Like you can't just keep torturing yourself, because at the end of the day it's torture to like keep trying for someone who, at whatever they say, if their actions don't show you, they don't give a shit. And even if they do, if that's their way of showing you, clearly you two don't have the same love language, so it's not going anywhere, which is something that I accepted. I'm like, I don't know if he loves me or not, but if he does, I don't feel loved regardless. So what's the point? So then now I'm left with, okay, now you need to work on yourself to the point that when you meet a person that you're actually interested in, you're open to loving them and to feeling loved by them.
Yeah.
Not in competition with that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like a lot of what you said, I feel like I can relate to from personal experience as well. Because same for me, I was about like 2.5 years before I got into like my relationship now with Anthony. And like I feel what you're saying. Like you think very rationally about like being with someone now. Because I think you're a little bit scarred from being so hopelessly like in love, you know, that you try to like be like, okay, like does this make sense though? Like, like am I just getting into this? How does this person treat me? Yeah. But after like I think that you get out of that way of thinking, right? Then there's healing with a partner. Now, this is one thing that I think is important to talk about, because when you are in your next relationship, right? It's going to sound weird, but you're with a new person, but there's situations that can kind of mimic or like look like relationships, situations that you've had with your previous partner that can cause automatic like reactions that are just habitual to you, even if the circumstance like at the moment doesn't warrant it, you still react that way. And that's when you have to like kind of be able to check yourself, literally check yourself, be like, you know what, wait a second, like am I tripping, like Is there any, basis to this? Am I just overreacting? Because that can happen. And that's where there's healing in a relationship, where you learn to trust again, because you're not just learning to trust this person, you're learning to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for some time, you feel like you get disappointed with yourself as well for allowing things to happen to you. So you need to learn to forgive and trust yourself, and trust the decision that you're taking and being with this person.
But that's the thing, that's why it's so important for you to allow yourself to heal, because for me, for example, the guys that I've briefly dated since, they fucked up, but I feel like I led them to doing certain things because I was repeating behaviors that were done to me. So in my head, it was like, oh, he used to do this to me, and I was super hooked on him. So I'm going to do this shit to you now. And then they go and do something stupid consequently, because I'm making them feel like, oh, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want, I'm not going to get into specifics, but for example, I was seeing this guy, and we were fine, and it was so intense. And he's admitted to me that he got scared because of how intense it was. I never admitted it to him, and I don't think he's gonna listen to this. But anyways, what happened was, because I felt like it was getting so intense, I made him feel, I was going on vacation for a weekend, and I made him feel like, oh, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. We're not in a relationship. And this is something that this one specific guy used to do to me all the time. Oh, we're not together, so I'm going to do whatever I want. And I stayed so hooked on that because I was like, oh my God, I didn't do shit. I went on vacation. I didn't do shit. You know what I mean? I didn't do shit. So what happened was, I came back, and he, quote unquote, he didn't cheat because we weren't in a relationship, but you know what I mean? He slept with someone else, and I found out. And I was like, obviously I stopped talking to him for some time, but then I thought about it, and I was like, you did that because you thought that I was doing some stupid shit, because that's how I made you feel. And that's me dragging this trauma and from my past situation with this person. And it sucks. And and I also want to say, I don't want to bash this one specific person, because anyone who knows fucking knows. Because I just want to say, when you're stuck in something like that, it's not always bad, I'm not going to sit here and say oh, he's the worst person I've ever met. No, it's just the way things unraveled, unfortunately, were not the best, And I think that's also part of healing, not pointing fingers, oh, this is your fault or this is my fault. No, this is how things happened. And exactly, this is how things happened, and that's it. But I think that becoming aware of those patterns that you're projecting onto other people. If you're doing that, you need to take some time for yourself, and figure shit out on your own, because you're just dragging shit.
To bring up that quick experience that you said, you're yo, I didn't even do shit. Exactly. It's yo, why do you even feel the need to project something that you're not even truthfully doing? For what? You know what I mean? To have this thing. But again, from bad experiences, trying to protect yourself, you know what I mean? You're kind of having the mentality of you know what, let me just say this, and that's gonna just already get it in my head, so that's what I expect, so I think that's another thing is why are you playing games? Why are you being dishonest? I mean, not dishonest, but just
you are though. You're insinuating something that's not true.
But it's and it all, honestly, it comes from a place of fear. Everything. You argue with people, it's just all fear, because you fear not being loved, not being cared for, not being appreciated. So we sometimes just put up these walls that eventually just leave us alone and back where we started, or even worse, because now we have more and more experiences under our belts that make us feel no one's shit.
Right now, so I always believed, I mentioned earlier, and love. And I think I get this from my mom, because every time I talk to her, she's just because the thing is, my mom and my dad, hashtag goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're
But
goals.
I'm like, Mom, that's not how the world works anymore. Like, now you have to be so mindful of everything. And I even tell her, like, which is something that a couple years ago would have never crossed my mind. I'm at a point that I'm like, yo, if I hit a certain age that I'm like, oh, I'm ready to have kids, and I don't find someone that I'm like, I want to share this with you, I'd rather have them on my own than just have them with a guy.
Yeah, I know.
Because having a child with someone is giving them access to the most vulnerable part of you, which is your children. So you want to be very mindful of who you're giving access to that.
Who you're choosing to be your partner.
You know, like, it's terrifying because we're reaching an age where you do have to think about these things. And then also, like, you know, if you're like, the career that I chose, which I'm not going to go into detail, but it's going to lead me to moving a lot, you know, and I think that that's not the issue, but that's definitely something that's happening a lot more now. I read this other book called The End of Men and the Rise of Women. And basically it talks about how, like, women professionally right now, we're prioritizing lots of parts of our career versus our relationships. So now, you know, we don't need men. If you're dating someone and you're with someone, it's because you want to be with them, not because you need them. And they mention one night stands. Before, women weren't so open sexually because that was the one thing that we kept from men, because we knew that the moment we gave it up, the game was over. So it's like, unless you're going to marry me and I know you're going to marry me, I'm not giving this up, because I need you to survive, because I don't have a career, whatever. Now we're like, first of all, I don't give a shit. Like, you know what I mean? So, and that's the thing. It's like, because I don't need anyone, it's like, either I really like you or like, fuck you, you know?
And then I also think that, you know, I mean, a part of it has to do really with like our society, I think. But what we are looking for in men now is it's like emotional intelligence, right? We're looking for you to like understand yourself and know how to love me correctly. Yeah, like that's what we look for. And it's not really like an emphasis, and boys don't grow up with this in mind. They don't talk to their boys about how they feel and whatnot. So it's like, okay, now it's up to us to like either like be like, either you learn that, or like I'll spend the time to like kind of like, I don't know, teach you, or maybe you come with I don't know how to explain, but it's just now we're seeking things that like it's hard for them to have, like I said.
Because I think we, in like our generation, unfortunately, is the transition generation. Like, we hit that point, because the generations after us, I feel like, are definitely more open about emotional availability and all of that, but our generation is in the middle, where like they weren't raised to be like that. And that's the truth, you know? And that's why I consider myself to be an empath. And unfortunately, this has brought me a lot of pain in my life, but like, I try to understand others. And it's like, I get that if you weren't raised to be okay with your feelings and open about them, you're not going to naturally do that. So you have to teach them. And with teaching comes patience. And sometimes it's like, fuck, you know, like, we have an argument and I'm trying to have this conversation with you. And instead of you being open to having this conversation with you, you're just fucking lashing out, and this is headed nowhere. And it's frustrating. And it's like, and that leads to a lot of relationships ending, because it's like, this is the thing when you're having an argument. And I know that this is so cliche because it's all over fucking Instagram, but it's not you versus your partner. It's you two versus the problem. And I always feel this way, because when you love someone, it's like, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just trying to figure out what went wrong. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong so that we can together come to a solution. You know, but if it's not like, if it's only me, if you're not like, if you don't think like that, then, you know, then it doesn't matter where I'm coming from.
You know, I like that you bring that up, because two things. So one, when it comes to like relationships, and when you're like in an argument with a partner, and I actually had this conversation with Anthony, you know, first you, and this was also in the book that I mentioned, Your Brain on Love by Stan Tatkin. when you're arguing with someone, your like fight or flight fucking sensors go up. You're on attack mode. You don't even think about what you're saying. You're just like, no, or whatever, like whatever you want to say. But anyways, you get super defensive, and then it does become me versus you. You're at war with this person. Like you're like, nah, like you're not gonna like argue. Like we're not gonna do it, whatever. But I also like told them, you know, the importance of space and time is crucial to any relationship. Like if there's anything that you get out of this podcast, well, I'm sure you'll get a lot. One thing that you need to
hopefully
remember, yeah, hopefully, if you're in like, yeah, if you're with someone, you guys are in an argument, whatever, and you feel like, come on, we're smart enough to fucking decipher whether what I'm saying is actually constructive or I'm just insulting you at this point. And if I'm just insulting you, then you know what? Let me retreat. Space is fundamental. Space in life, space in relationships, space in your fucking home, like space. Because then you get away from the person, and then you know, you ever be mad and like you just start thinking about like things that like the emotions that you feel. Oh, like, you know, I'm so pissed. Why am I pissed?
You
Damn,
go
this
through a
bothered me.
process.
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
go through an emotional process when you're upset.
Yeah. And then you finally come to a point where like, you know, I felt this way because this is how I used to feel about this or whatever the case. And then you come back with your partner and then you're like, hey, you know, I'm sorry. I just, you know, but I do want to talk about what happened. You come with a new fucking mindset. If you're just going off of like an argument and you just want to keep going and you're just insulting me, first of all, that's disrespectful. And I do not tolerate disrespect.
But this is the thing, this is the thing. Like sometimes because it can even be like on the other side is what I'm trying to say. Like you can be having an argument and the other person disrespects you and you're like, fuck this, like I'm not going to be disrespected. But also when you're stuck in a really toxic situation, you find yourself insulting the other person.
Yeah.
Because you're so mad and so enraged that all you want to do is hurt them. And then like you have to stop and think like, why do you want to hurt so bad someone you love so much?
Mm-hmm.
Like what has gone wrong here? And that's where you have to be like, you know what? I need to take a step back because this is not who the fuck I am. Like this is fucking bringing out a side of me that this is not who the fuck I am.
Yeah.
And I have had an issue with that because I'm very impatient. That's my whole thing. I'm the kind of person, and I get this from my dad. He's the same way. When I get into an argument with someone, I automatically want to fix it. Like I can't stand, I'm a Cancer. I can't stand like being mad at people. And sometimes, unfortunately, I fuck up. Like I say things that should have, you know, I shouldn't have said. And then I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. And sometimes the person is okay with it. And sometimes they're like, no, fuck you. And then I need to give them the space and time to forgive me or whatever the case is, you know, but giving the person time to think about everything that's happening and giving yourself the time too. Cause right now I'm going through this thing where like, I have my days where it's easier to not talk to a certain person. And then some days it's like, fuck, you know, like, but it's like, no, like you have to stay strong. Like you just have to remind yourself like it's for the better. And I'm sure that so many people resonate with that. Like when you walk away from something toxic and you're like, fuck him, I'm fucking good, whatever. And then like 3 weeks go by and you're like, fuck, like today, like, and then it's like, no, like remind yourself why you walked away, you know, because we tend to remember the good things about people. And it's like, again, not that people are horrible. I just think that when people come together, sometimes it brings a side of them that may or may not be good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that sometimes, you know, I feel like you can like forgive and you can try to work through something, but sometimes things are just like tarnished. Like I remember feeling at one point when it was a very toxic point in a relationship, and I was just like, you know, we're just like ruined for each other. Like I can't, there's memories and there's things on both sides that it's like you can't forget. So it's just like there's so many people in this
there's
world.
Just that's the thing when it's something that's like, that's the thing, like when it's something that there's just so much, and it's so unfortunate because you're like, fuck, like I wanted it to be you so badly, but you acted this way, or whatever, you know, and it's like
acted in a way that
we did things that were not supposed to happen, and it's like that's the thing, there's nothing you could say, there's nothing, and sometimes people don't reach out because they don't know what to say. And that's a reality. Sometimes you don't reach out to the person because it's like, I just really have nothing to say to you, and vice versa. And that's how you know that something is done, you know, when there's just nothing left to say, like there's no way of fixing this and it's better to move on. And with this being said, now I want to bring into like a topic that's kind of related because in my situation it is. And it's the fact that when people are afraid of serious emotional commitment, what we tend to do is, and I'm not saying everyone, but what we tend to do is we tend to find sexual satisfaction in partners that are insignificant to us, but give us the temporary satisfaction of feeling wanted. So I went through a phase, you know, when I was younger, where I would do that. You know, I was in a toxic situation and I was like, you know, I can find the affection and the attention in these other individuals, so fuck it, you know. And then now it's funny because I'm like, fuck, man, like, every time I meet someone, you best believe, for all of you that are willing to date me or thinking of doing so, I am psychologically analyzing absolutely everything that you say and do from like an objective perspective.
Yo, no one's gonna date you, Sophie.
Yo, I'm not kidding. Like now it's like, I'll be like, first of all, you acted this way because your mama didn't love you. No, I'm just kidding, but anything like that though. Like I'll like, for example, if a dude, like if you're doing fine with a guy and then all of a sudden he fucking cheats on you, baby girl, that is not on you, that is on him. He's terrified because he knows that you're so much that in his head he's thinking, oh, she's probably going to leave me for someone else eventually, for someone better, so before she does that, let me go and fuck this girl really quick. And then you're left fucking devastated because you're blaming yourself, like, what the fuck did I do? Blah, 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 blah. And chances are a week or two later, he's going to be trying to call you and trying to text you talking about, oh, I'm sorry. She didn't mean anything. Pretty much. And you're like, oh my God.
Click.
That's what you should do.
That's what you should do.
That's what you should do. Yeah, you should just be like,
but you know, I just want to really quick, because this is something that my mom and my grandma tell me all the time, right? This is what they told me, and this is how I was like, you know what, y'all ladies are right, and I need to take your advice. What they told me is, tú sabes que you could take him back, whatever, but the person that's going to suffer in that relationship is not him, it's going to be you. Because every time he leaves that fucking door, you're going to think, y con quién, y con cuándo, y pa cuándo, and who's he talking to, and where's he going.
Social media.
And social media makes that shit even worse. Yo, honestly, that's the reason why I fucking hate Instagram.
Like, yo, let me tell you, when a guy lies to you about some girl, when a guy lies to you about some girl, the next thing you're doing is on Instagram checking his likes, checking his follow, checking this, checking that. I used to be that girl. Let me tell you, I used to be that girl. And now I'm like, first of all, if I find myself, I don't have the time to fucking do that, first of all. And second of all, if I feel like I have to do that because I'm with you, why the fuck am I with you?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna fucking expose someone right now. I'm not gonna say his name. But the last guy that I briefly dated, he fucking lied to me about fucking some girl. Espérate, I'm gonna say a story because he doesn't speak English. Anyways, so we were like dating or whatever. This guy was so like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Slow dancing in the park type shit. And then I played a Sophie on him about like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever I want, like I always do. And anyways, I came back and he was like, oh, I'm going out of town with my friends for the weekend, right? Okay, yeah, bueno. He's going out of town with his friends. Ese tipo se fue. And he didn't message me on weekends. And I was like, suspicious. So then I was like, watch. I'm like, I bet on Sunday he's gonna fucking text me. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I don't give a flying fuck, just so y'all know. So he messages me that Sunday, and I was like, oh, so how was your weekend with your friends? And he was like, oh, it was a good time. And I was like, really? I saw your friends, which was a lie. You guys are fucking stupid. Again, reverse psychology. I was like, oh, really? I came, I saw your friends on Friday. And he was like, wow, I already know where this conversation is headed. And I was like, mira. Hey, I'm gonna throw hands. So I was like, first of all, I'm like, you're a piece of shit. You're fucking disgusting. Fuck you. Okay. He then later on, like 2 months later, I blocked him everywhere. He came to the conclusion. He was like, I fucked up. No me diga. He's like, I just got scared and I didn't have the balls to like be upfront to you that I just got scared. Like there was this other girl. So in this situation, because I had already had situations similar to this in the past, I was able to sense the red flag of like, that's weird. You're out of town and you're not texting me at all. Red flag. Not only that, do you guys think I looked for the other girl on Instagram? No, I did not. Till this day, I don't know who the fuck she was. I don't know where the fuck he was. And honestly, I don't give two flying fucks, because at the end of the day, that had nothing to do with me and everything to do with him.
Yeah.
And that's just the kind of person that I've become. If I'm loyal to you and I'm a good person to you, and then you go and you play me like that, that's going to fall on your conscience. And it does. People, and that's why I also stress, like, how us females, we have this thing where we repeat ourselves telling a guy what they did wrong. Like, oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. You don't have to tell him. Believe me, he knows. Yeah, he knows. The same way he knows he's getting away with it, because you're still putting up a fight. And my men, when women don't put up a fight anymore, that's how you know they're done. If a girl doesn't even care to fight with you anymore, she's over it, bro.
Yeah, she's over it, yo, that's so true. I remember I was very like,
ya está, el paquete, like, here you go. And that's the thing, like, that's the thing, like,
no hard feelings. Thank you. Yeah,
we're fucking over. And and I don't know, bro, sometimes, and one thing I want to mention, like the last thing I think I'm going to mention is when, like those situations where they leave you thinking about like, oh, it could have been this, or it could have been that, like this could have happened between us, we could have built this.
How?
First of all, if something could have happened, it would have happened. Okay, didn't what was his name? The guy that went to the moon, the first guy, Armstrong.
Lance?
He made, I don't remember his first name.
Buzz? No, I don't know. Buzz.
Buzz Lightyear? Yeah, anyways, he made it to the moon. It wasn't it would have. If a man wants to make an effort, bro, he will. And if you've only had experience with like in a relationship with one guy and he's not doing it, it might be hard to believe, because you're like, I've never seen a guy try. But trust me when I tell you that once you have experiences with other dudes, like, cuando un hombre quiere, you know what I mean? My mom has always said something, and I hope that this sticks with everyone here. My mom has been married for 30 years with a man that would do anything for her. She always tells me, a man needs to kiss the floor that you step on. And that is the truth, because us women are emotional, so we naturally do it. But he has to be more in love with you than you with him. And that's really how it is. You have to walk and he has to fucking kiss that ground, bitch. Like, period. And if he's not doing that, don't be afraid to be alone. There's so many things you could do. You know what I mean? Just don't waste your mental energy on something that it's not worth it. Yeah. And that's it. That is my conclusion.
Your conclusion. Yeah, I mean, as long as like this is something where it's just healthy, right? Like, I think that there's so much shit in this world. There's so much chaos. There's so much fucking shitty people that you'll encounter. The one person that you choose, let's let's run that back. That you choose to be with should be someone that fucking gives you peace of mind, yo. Like, no, it's not going to be perfect, but if you both are equally invested in having a good relationship, something like that feels good, something that is like someone who supports you in whatever it is that you want to do, doesn't take away, doesn't make you feel bad for wanting to do things that may not include them, you know, like that's like what you need, because you know your mom has been in it, like you said, like your parents have been together for so long, and I see their dynamic, and it's beautiful because they love each other. Like I don't even know how, like there's no other word for it. Like they really are for each other, and it's like they'll support you and your brother, you know, they'll help families out, but at the end of the day, it's
they're their own ride or die.
They're a unit. Yeah.
And you know, it's crazy because for those of you who don't know, like I live in Spain now, but they live in Morocco, and they can be living in Morocco without me and my brother, but they can't be living in Morocco without each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that after so many years, and that's the thing with like real love, you know, like people forget that one day we're going to be old. And when you're not that strong anymore, when you're not that capable anymore, you want someone by your side that's going to be with you regardless.
Your best friend, yeah.
And I think that that's what people forget nowadays, that one day you're not going to be capable of going to the bathroom by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with that mentality. And unfortunately, I've loved people in that way that maybe didn't know that was a way of loving someone, where it's like, if you lose a leg tomorrow, best believe I'm going to be pushing that fucking wheelchair. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what a relationship is. It's not like, oh, everything's fine and everything's great. And I remember I had this conversation with this one guy, and I told him, I'm like, you know, life is hard as it is. The person that you're with should make it easier, not harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It should give you peace.
Yeah. So anyways, if you guys resonated, if you guys liked the series, we're gonna probably do more episodes on it. Let us know ideas for topics or whatever, or you might even choose, like, because these are like more casual conversations that we're having, but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll see you next time.
Until next time, thank you.
Peace.
Appreciate you. Bye.